Welcome back, recruit, to another Rebel Rant. Today, this is going to be a very special and unexpected rant. One that I did not plan on doing until just a few hours ago. It was pretty spur of the moment, in large part brought on by the need to eat. I was running out of food, and I needed to go get some groceries. And as I'm sure you know, many places have put forth edicts requiring people to wear masks in public places. There is no scientific, medical, or legal standing for these edicts, but they've done it anyways. And make no mistake, I was extremely nervous going to the store because I will not comply. And yeah, I have some pretty good reasons for that, which we're going to touch on, throughout this video. So if you haven't seen too many of my videos, I have shared that I do have a background in biology. I have a bachelor's of science in biology. And what many people may not realize is that medical science is founded in biological science. So you do not need to have a PhD in medicine in order to understand infectious diseases, and especially when they're relatively common. So I am, in fact, certified and qualified to speak on these matters. If you do not wish, it's up to you if you want to listen to me. As far as you are concerned, I am just a nobody, a voice on the internet. But hopefully you'll at least listen with an open mind, because what I'm about to share is 100% true to the best of my knowledge and my abilities. So I'm not going to share a image of my degree for the sake of privacy. We live in dangerous times, as I'm sure you know, with all the stuff going on in entertainment, gaming, comic books, movies, television. It's very easy to be taken down just by voicing your opinion. And I have had a lucrative medical career stolen right out of my hands. And it was stolen from me for specific reasons, dealing with my biology and other things. And there are things I cannot talk about at this point because I do risk. I'm very much putting myself at risk just by talking about this. So I must I must maintain a certain level of anonymity in this regard. However, I will, as you can see here, I do have emails from, I'm not going to reveal this person's name, but they were at the time the system director of employee health and wellness. And this very much ties into the current situation with the beer bug, as hopefully it will become apparent as to why in the course of this discussion. So at the time, I had requested a religious exemption from the flu vaccine, and this was highly frowned upon, to say the least. And that's putting it mildly. I had to go through an extensive process to get the exemption, and once it was granted, I was then, the powers that be then attempted to coerce me into wearing a mask, even though I wasn't sick. I had no symptoms, and there was no justification for it. I'm not going to get into other details. This is just, I'm trying to I could go off on a tangent like you wouldn't believe, but I'm going to do my best here to keep this focused on current events, and I'm simply trying to share this with you to give you give you a peek at my background here and how it applies to modern events. So throughout so this person and I, we had a lengthy discussion going back and forth through email, and it all revolved around what the justification was for being forced to wear this mask. And as you can see, I'm not going to bore you with all the details here, so I'm going to focus in on the specifics, and especially as they apply to the beer bug situation that's going on right now. So, going back to these edicts where people are being forced to wear masks, there is no medical or legal justification for it, and hopefully this will help to explain why. So as you can see from now, this part of the email chain is from this person, and this person is giving me their explanation as to why I'm expected to wear the mask. This is the context under which these emails are being sent. Now, before this, I had sent them an email with an extensive amount of research that I had done regarding infectious diseases in general, and specifically the influenza virus. And it took this person a while to respond to that specifically, and this is their response. So as you can see under this first point, there is no specific recommendation from the CDC at this time for masking as a fundamental element to prevent influenza transmission. The specific recommendations include administration of influenza vaccine, implementation of respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette. What they mean by cough etiquette was literally just coughing into your elbow. That was sufficient to curb the spread of the flu. Appropriate management of ill HCP, which refers to hospital personnel. Adherence to infection control precautions for all patient care activities and aerosol generating procedure, which generally deals with coughing or sneezing. And implementing environmental and engineering infection control measures. So, yeah, so feel free to pause it and read some of this if you like. I'm going to go ahead and skip down here to the points that matter in regards to the current edicts. So this first part here, it clearly states that masking efficacy is highly debated. And what this means in layman's terms is that the effectiveness of wearing a mask is not settled science, to put it plainly. There is literally no evidence proving that wearing a mask under these conditions does anything to protect you or the people around you. So if you see that first part where it says wearing a mask incorrectly does nothing, these are two separate statements. The masking efficacy does not have, in this context where this person is making the statement, masking efficacy is directly in context with wearing the mask properly, just so there's no confusion. And if you go down to point 7, this person provides information directly from the CDC in regards to the and this was specifically in regards to the H1N1 influenza pandemic. In regards to these face masks that people are being forced to wear. They are not designed to protect against breathing in the very small particle aerosols that may contain viruses. Surgical mask efficacy in regards to prevention of transmission of influenza is debated. The bottom line is there is not compelling data to prompt the adoption of a recommendation for all employees to mask. There are other measures that are known to protect patients and healthcare professionals from influenza. Masks and respirators should be considered the last line of defense in a hierarchy of infection control measures. Hand washing, good etiquette when sneezing and coughing, and staying home when sick, not in order to keep from getting sick. Staying home when sick are still the keys to preventing the spread of infectious disease. That is from Srinivasan's JAMA editorial, which is a journal of medicine. If we move down to point 8, CDC reminds us that the flu's most effective avenue of transmission is not the air, but via direct contact with an infected individual. For example, drinking from a glass that was shared with a sick person, or touching your mouth after touching a surface also touched by a sick individual is not only more likely to get you infected, but is something the mask offers absolutely no protection against. So this was a fairly lengthy email with several points. These are the relevant points that apply to the current edicts and pandemic of the beer virus. And you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, Rebel. You're talking about the flu, not the beer bug. Well, here's the thing. Keep something in mind. The common cold is caused by a family of viruses, which includes the beer bug. Most people don't know this. And nobody freaks out when cold season comes around. Same thing for the flu season, unless, mainstream media tells them to. But never to this extent. And an infectious disease is an infectious disease. It doesn't matter what the actual virus is that causes it. The biological principles that govern the transmission of diseases like this are the same across the board. Now, there are different types of infectious diseases that can be transmitted in different ways, but the beer bug falls into the same category as the flu. So these guidelines regarding these types of infectious diseases are very much the same between the two different viruses. So what is going on today is simply outrageous. As you can see from this information, there is zero medical justification, zero legal justification for these actions that are being forced upon the general population. And not only in America, but around the world. And this brings us to the following footage that we're about to go over. And so what happened was I needed to go to the store because I needed to get some food. And with these edicts, they're, threatening fines. There is the potential for jail time. And I was legitimately and sincerely concerned about going to the store just to get some food. All right, recruit. We're going to test some civil disobedience here. Hopefully it won't be necessary. All right. Heading into the grocery store. I've actually seen a few people without a mask, so hopefully that's a good sign. Quite frankly, I can't afford to be fined. I can't afford to go to jail. But even more so, I cannot afford to not be able to eat. And I will not bend my knee to such blatant tyranny. These edicts are illegal and unlawful. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with this documentation. There is zero medical evidence or justification to support such edicts. Shutting down the economy was wrong. If you disagree, that's fine. But I am speaking from a position of scientific authority. I am a certified biologist. I've spent a decade of my life earning my degree and working in the medical field. So you can disagree all you like, but I stand by what I am saying here. So I prepared to go to the store, and I was literally preparing for war. to put it in the simplest terms possible. I had this documentation printed up, ready to go, including a copy of my degree. I had no idea what was going to go down, but I wanted to be as prepared as I possibly could. Now, I was hoping that nothing would happen. I was sincerely hoping for that. But knowing history, human history, American history, world history, I wanted to be prepared for anything. So I was as prepared as I could be. I was expecting the worst, but I was also hoping for the best. So as I drove to the store, there were a lot of people out and about, just walking around by themselves with their families. None of them were wearing masks, and that was reassuring to say the least. However, once I got to the store, things changed. And that's when I started to actually get concerned. So people were in the little shopping area. They were wearing masks, which was telling me that they were aware of these edicts and following them. Fortunately, though, when I pulled my car into the parking spot, somebody did come out of the store not wearing a mask. So that that did bolster my confidence to some extent. It didn't mean that somebody hadn't called the cops on them. The cops just hadn't gotten there yet. But if somebody else was not wearing their mask, that was reassuring on some level. Now, this was an experiment in civil disobedience, because with all of the stuff going on, not only in America, but around the world, but as an American, I'm specifically concerned with what's going on in my country. How's it going? Yeah, would it be possible to get a couple of chicken breasts? I know it's kind of late in the day. Oh, no, okay, what's that? No. Excuse me. It's dry in here, man. Fried chicken?
Oh, you want fried chicken, like 18 cents or like 22 cents?
No, just a couple of chicken breasts.
Just a couple of chicken breasts?
Yeah.
You want chicken breasts or something? Great size.
Yeah, if it's possible. I mean, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
How many do you like?
Just 2 of them.
2?
Yeah.
$5.
I'm not going to eat them all. It would just be a waste. I don't want to waste the food. If you guys can use it for something. Yeah. This was something that I have never really done before, not to this extent. There was a very clear edict where everyone was required to wear a mask in public. And I honestly didn't know what to expect. So I entered the store. Now, previously, they had been forcing people to stand outside 6 feet apart, waiting in line. They had a limited number of people in the store. Fortunately, they had pretty much stopped doing that. I appreciate it. Thank you. A few weeks ago, at least. And they had not started it back up again. So I don't know if that meant that they were tired of jumping through these hoops or what exactly it meant. But the upside is that they did stop doing it. And as you can see, at side of the store at the entrance, they very clearly had a sign stating that, the mask was required. And but here's the thing. Nothing happened. I didn't know nothing was going to happen. I didn't know what to expect. But fortunately, I was able to enter the store without a mask, do my shopping, go about my business, gather the supplies I needed to be able to feed myself for the next week or two. Excuse me, just gotta get some orange juice. Yeah, no, it's all good. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said anything to me. Nobody told me to put a mask on. Now, there were some people that did give me some looks. And just about everybody was, in fact, wearing a mask. while I was in there, in the areas where I was shopping, I do not recall anybody else not wearing a mask. So that was sitting at the back of my mind the entire time. And to be perfectly honest, I was just waiting for the cops to show up. Lights flashing, sirens blazing. I was ready for it. I was prepared for it. Mentally, physically, I had the documentation with me to help bolster my argument and my civil disobedience. But the simple fact is that there was no way to predict what exactly would happen. So I made it through the store. Like I said, a few people did give me looks. And when I looked them dead in the eye, they withdrew into themselves and looked away. Did not say a word. So I'm not sure if they were mad at me for not wearing a mask, but for lack of a better word, were too weak to say something. Or if maybe in that moment they realized that I was not doing anything wrong. I like to think the second one. Hopefully people do realize that this is wrong. Now, the fact that there were a few people that went into the store without masks was heartening. And the fact that nobody stopped me, nobody called the police. You might be thinking, well, Rebel, nothing happened. Why is this a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because I didn't know that nothing was going to happen. There's so much craziness going on across the country. And the simple fact is that there was no way to predict it. I had no way of knowing nothing was going to happen. And that is one of the points of civil disobedience. When somebody in the government crosses a line, it is up to each and every one of us as a private citizen to push back. Civil disobedience does not involve violent uprising. It is a simple act of defying an unlawful order or edict or law. And that's exactly what I did. And what some other people did in fact do. And you might not think that's a big deal. You might not think that matters. But make no mistake. Every single person that I and these other people came into contact with, they saw that we were not wearing a mask in spite of this edict. And if nothing else, that gave those people that were wearing the masks something to think about. And hopefully, I hope to God, just so you know, it is kind of a pain trying to shop with a phone in your hand. Just saying. That it helps to give them the strength to engage in their own civil disobedience. And I'm thankful and grateful nothing happened, that the police didn't show up, that I didn't have to confront them, that I didn't have to worry about fighting a fine or potential jail time. I am truly grateful for that. But the simple fact is, anything could have happened. And hopefully this video, if you're not sure, if you're a lot of people out there, they don't understand civil disobedience. They don't understand their civil rights. They don't understand their rights as an American. And I'm speaking about Americans specifically. As for other countries, that's their business. The way they run their government, the way the people interact with their government, that is their business. As an American specifically, we were founded on civil disobedience and rebelling against tyranny. What's going on in today's America is unbelievable. It is beyond the pale, is beyond anything I've witnessed in my lifetime. And when this new edict came out, enough was enough. Couldn't take it anymore. Had enough. I will not comply with these edicts. I will be prepared for the consequences, and I will fight this as best I can. But here's the rub. Can't do this. I can't do this alone. United was founded on united we stand, divided we fall. And it's America. We got toilet paper. I cannot believe my eyes. Each and every American citizen needs to learn about civil disobedience and embrace it. Because if we all were to engage in civil disobedience, the powers that be would realize that we are not going to roll over for this. And this will tell them that they better not keep pushing the issue, because it will not end the way that they think it will end. I've been trying to stay away from something like this, but for some reason recently, I just had a hankering for Pringles. Don't ask me why. I can't explain. And that is the entire point of this video. If you've actually managed to watch for this long, I just want to say thank you. And hopefully this gives you something to think about. I stand with you, not against you. And as an American, we must stand united. Otherwise, it's only going to get worse. And if you know your history, especially in the last 100 years, you know just how bad it can get. And none of us, most of us, do not want things to get that bad. So, Jim Dean's gone full turkey. I'm disappointed. So looks like Smithville it is. No, I have not been paid for any endorsements. This is a very unexpected rant. It's gone in a direction I never expected or planned on. Hopefully it gives you something to think about and encourages you to engage in your own civil disobedience. So with that said, I'll see you in the cantina, recruit. This is Rebel Squadron out. that's everything. So I'll get back to the synchronizers. Alright, let's see what happens at the register. These might, I don't know what they do.
Plastic gonna be okay for you?
Yeah, that's fine. How's the week going? It's good. One of the parts of the job, man.
That's why I love my job, man. I love all the girls that.
Oh yeah, dude. I used to be a bagger at one time.
I used to be Iverson.
Oh, I wish, man. I wish I could do that. You guys have a good one. So, yeah, that was better than I was expecting and exactly what I was hoping for. So, I'll say more about it later. Rebel Squadron, we'll be back.